ಅಲ್ಲ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರೆ ಇವಾಗ ಐ ವಾಂಟ್ ಟು ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಹಿಯರ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಆರ್ ಯು ರೆಕಾರ್ಡಿಂಗ್ ರಮ್ಯಾ ಅವರು 6 ಮಣಿಗೆ ಹೋಗೋಣ ವಿಷಯ ಅವರ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್
I don't know how they got our travel because we have where they got my app.
Right, good evening everybody. Please settle down, we'll start in a moment. There are some seats right up front for the lovely ladies. Okay, good evening. My name is Shashi Kiran, and I've been a volunteer at OSAT for about a year or so, since the last event of this type. This is the 5th annual event of Vidyaadana, which is literally the gift of knowledge, of learning. And last year, this was a very lucky venue for us because we raised almost close to $1 million. And that allowed us to fund 12 to 13 schools for underprivileged children in rural India. And so the onus is on this audience here today to raise the bar and beat that record. This year we have 20 schools up for funding. Okay? So please make yourselves comfortable. We're going to be here together for the next few hours. And before we get started, I'll just share a couple of housekeeping items. On your table, you'll find a few pieces of collateral. One of them has a barcode, which is a QR code for contact tracing. So all of us thankfully have gotten rid of our masks, but this center still warrants contact tracing. So when you get a chance, pass that around, just scan it with your mobile and enter your information. So anytime during the course of today's evening. So with that, there is a really well put together program today evening. I'm just going to do a quick run through on the program agenda. We have OSAT's President Padhu Melanali, who will walk us through the update on OSAT's progress over the last year, and he's also giving an overview on OSAT for some of you first timers here. Could I get a quick show of hands on who is a first timer for OSAT? Okay, so that's actually very encouraging, and I know some of you have heard about it, but maybe this is your first time in here. And after Padhu gives you an overview, we're just going to have some of the tech entrepreneurs, philanthropists, and executives that are here in the Silicon Valley come about and share their thoughts on education. And this is going to be moderated by B.V. Jagdish. Subsequently, we'll have a panel of donors who will also come and share their thoughts from how their mindset is changing from go-getters to go-givers. And this is a panel that's going to be moderated by Chandra. And today's evening, I think we'll also have a school from India joining us live through teleconference. And you'll get an opportunity to see firsthand what is the impact OSAT is creating in their lives, and we get the chance to speak to some students there as well as the headmaster and things like that. And then we will get into the pledge drive, which is where we're hoping to really raise the funds for some of these schools. You'll also see a list of these schools on the table. Finally, to put the fun in fundraising, we're going to have a magician and mentalist join us. I think some of you might have been experienced him in the lobby. I saw a lot of puzzled look on people's faces because they couldn't figure out how they got stuff done. And Joe, you want to warm the audience a little bit? You got any trick up your sleeves?
I could do something really quick. 30 seconds. We'll try
Go
this.
for it.
This is just a fun little warm up here. You know, you can come up on stage too. You can come up on stage. Give him a round of applause. He's doing a great job.
As long as you don't make me disappear.
So here's I want you to experience this because when you perform on stage, it's always interesting. I'd like everybody right now to turn and face me if you can. If you're in a seat facing away, just turn your seat a little bit, face forward. Here's where this is going to be fun. Take your hands out, put them like this. Perfect. Point them toward me. Turn your body if you can point there. There you go. There, right to me. And now start wiggling your fingers. Isn't this weird? Look at that. This is weird. This is weird, right? No, okay. Go ahead. Keep wiggling your fingers just like this. Now, stop wiggling your fingers. Take your thumbs, touch them together, separate them, and point them down to the floor. At this point, your palms are faced. This is the opposite of clapping. You cannot clap this way. Now, take your right hand, lift it up, over, down, and clasp all of your fingers together. Everybody's doing this except for her. She's not doing it all. There you go. You can see that. Good one. Here's what you're going to do on the count of 3. Do this. 1, 2, 3. There you go. There you go. I look forward to seeing you all after dinner for a fantastic show. Thanks so much.
Just be sure to safeguard your wallets, timepieces. With your on, you can never know. Alright, so I didn't mention about dinner, obviously. For all of us, food is important. So dinner is going to be before the magic show. You're going to wake up till and Joy's coming towards the end to close down the performance. So we have this, waiting for you. So with that, let's get the show on the road today. And what better way to start off any program, especially one for Indian school kids, than music and dance. Here for the second time is Sanjana Melkote and her team of Jahnavi as well as Krishna, who will be performing an invocation dance for us. Take it away, Sanjana. Sanjana team, could I have you back on stage, please? That was wonderful. It was wonderful. So, briefly, what was the dance about?
So I'm still a lot of breath. Today we performed Vidyaadana, which is a piece that celebrates joy and togetherness. And we decided that it would be apt for this occasion because every time we come to OSAT, we see the passion that everyone has for this cause, and we want to share that joy and passion and togetherness through our dance. And the little sahitya or meaning portion of the Vidyaadana that we performed is about Kala Kshetra, which is the dance style and the institution that we learn from. So it's paying homage to the institution, the school that allows us to learn this dance form. So that's kind of how we related it to the cause of education, and we hope that everyone felt the joy that we hopefully tried to bring to the stage.
It's wonderful. So, the invocation you did for us last year helped us raise close to $1 million, and this year, it's going to appeal to a higher deity. You're in your final year at Berkeley. Janvi, you're already working, you've graduated, and Krishna, you're also working. So, very quickly, how do you maintain passion for dance, and how do you guys actually get the time to practice?
Yeah, so the three of us met through college, and that's how we're able to dance together, and that's how we met through school. And we just make time to practice together, honestly. We graduated, she's still in school, so when she comes home, we'll meet up and practice. So it's just because we love to dance, and we like to dance together. We find time.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say that, this is my second time coming back here to perform at OSAT. Sanjana's third time, Johnny's first time, and I just think it's a great opportunity to reflect on, what a privilege education is, and being here in a room with all of you people helps us do that. And we're really grateful for the opportunity to come here and perform this and, make a small contribution to today. And it's an honor to be here.
BJ will give them a small token of appreciation.
Thank you so much for coming and doing this every year. Sanjana, as you know, she's in her final year at Berkeley, which itself is a pretty demanding thing. But she's been doing this for OSAT for almost 4 or 5 years now. She started with her own very innovative dance. Actually, she herself designing that whole thing, choreographing, about conceiving an idea about a school kid going to a rural school without an infrastructure, and then what happens to that kid once the infrastructure is built. This is what she performed about 3 or 4 years ago. Now, just like OSAT schools increasing, her friends circle for the dance also is increasing. Thank you for bringing your amazing friends. Thank you. Thank you. Come back next year.
Next up, I would love to invite Paddu. Paddu Melanhali is the president of OSAT, and he's been in this position for 2 years, and every year of Paddu seems like it's 10 years, because that's the amount of work that he actually puts into it. He's a long-time Cisco veteran executive, and I just don't know how he manages to juggle the time, but the work ethics, the integrity, and the passion that he brings into this role is what inspires a lot of others, myself included, to come and contribute to the cause. So with that, Paddu, come and share your thoughts with us.
Thank you, Shishik.
Thank you, Shashi. Once again, I would like to thank each and every one of you here today. I will take a few minutes just to explain what OSAT is all about and then give you an overview of all the work that OSAT is trying to do. I know many people are first-timers here, so that I will take a little bit time to explain more details, and also I also have one of my other India volunteer here, and then he will also go through on what the school selection criteria and the process is all about. So if I start something like, what is the problem statement that we are trying to address as a OSAT? Those of you who don't know, OSAT means it is a one school at a time, and then we play a role in the rural education in India. If you look at the problem statement, most of the places, I think, we are all come from the similar backgrounds where we have the public school infrastructure education, there is a government school, and then whenever there is the heavy rain or some other calamities, and then we all went through the path of not going into the school or even to go to school, and then we really struggled how to do some of the education. And most of the places, some of the situation is still the case. It's not quite different anyway. So if you look at the overall the government school infrastructure in India, closely about 120 million children are still in the public school education system throughout India. And then most of the education, the obstacles are still the poor infrastructure, where some of the schools, they don't have very good building and no very good sanitation facilities, and also no clean drinking water facilities either. And also the teachers and the inadequate training for those teachers, which is also causing some of the issues for the rural education kids to get the required education. And of course, lastly, the world is moving into the digital environment, and then we see a lot of issue with respect to the rural kids getting on par with the urban kids. That's also another the digital divide that we talk about. And also, if you look at one simple statistics of one state in Karnataka, the numbers are really telling what's happening in a way. So more than 40,000 the schools, they don't have proper building. That is an infrastructure issue that we are trying to solve. And then more than that, actually, so more than 1,000 schools with no power supplies, and then the close to about 2,000 of all those the schools are not having the good sanitation facilities for the kids to come to the school. And also, with this, what we thought, OSAT is with a vision of transformation of the rural education in the rural India. That's a very important thing that we wanted to do it. And how we want to do it is to uplift the school infrastructure by providing the required facilities one school at a time. That is how the one school at a time was formed. And what do we do? Predominantly, very few things. This is one of the very hard job, because today we have a lot of ecosystem who are ready to donate the computers, who are ready to donate the books, who are ready to donate the backpacks and the required the amenities for the school kids. But getting the proper good building, not very many non-profits are doing it today. And then most are probably, if I know, the school construction is one of the major non-profit organizations which is playing a hard job to build the school infrastructure for this one. The reason I tell you, so the moment that we build the classrooms in the village, the entire village gets the momentum and the energy comes back, because the newness, and the kids will be happy, they want to go to the school, and then the villagers will support, and all of a sudden this becomes the spot where everybody starts appreciating and the education flourishes. So we do the classrooms built out, we do the girls and boys, the toilet facilities, where needed kitchen, and also where needed the clean drinking water facilities. This is what we do it. And then once we do it, there is a lot of ecosystems, the Rotary Club, the Akshay Patra, and other organizations comes, and then they help the kids with varieties of the required facilities for that particular school. And also, this is a very minimal administrative cost organization, because 100% volunteer-driven organization is this. And we have a 501c3 registration in the US, and also in India we have the 80-G and then the Colway Charter Association. So that way it is a clean legal organization which is working for the benefit of the rural kids in rural India. And the impact is very well felt. So just want to make sure that, so there are very many schools, the boys and the girls that they are coming in. The OSAT is making a difference positively for those kids. At least 50,000 students per year among all the schools that we have built so far. And the numbers are very staggering also. So total what we are talking about is since inception, there are about 61,000 kids who are benefited with the work that the OSAT is trying to do. And the transformational change is very evident. So I just captured a few schools. So we have completed the 83rd school, the groundbreaking ceremony, and 63 of them completely completed, and then we handed over. And then the 83rd school groundbreaking ceremony, the donor is also here, and then we will talk about it. And then we will And during the pandemic, we also learned that the rural kids and the urban kids, the one that talked about the digital divide. So the rural kids obviously missed out an opportunity of learning because not having the enough infrastructure to take the classes over the internet or the online. So this is where OSAT started to think about it, how do we really help our rural kids, and then came up with the Odysee, which is the OSAT Digital Infrastructure Program. What we do is to get the integration of the Google Classroom. The content is available on the internet through the classrooms or the teachers, and then we try to connect the students and the teachers and the schools and the content providers so that they should be able to get the required the education sitting at home or going into the school. So this is one of the proof points that I just want to share. The dashboard says it all. So we built this dashboard also. So if you look at this one, there are about 54 schools which enabled with the Odysee program, where the students will get the iPad or the ruggedized devices for them to learn through the Google Classroom infrastructure. We have very good collaboration with the Google, and we will be able to understand exactly quantitative and qualitative measures of the students, how they are progressing, and what is the help which is really needed for them, so that we can arrange the required content to be given to those iPads or the devices where the students will get benefited with that and then learn the content very well. And the proof point is also important here. So once we saw this one, there are about 54 schools that we completed, and then about the STEM education that we have, at least the very short span of the period, we have seen 20% increase with within the 5 weeks duration. That means the content was there and it was not reaching at the right spirit, at the right student, so that is what we facilitated. And of course, the last bullet is very important, Malur Girls School. The donor is also here for the Malur Girls School. And they ranked second amongst the 250 Asia the competition, which is run by a third party in the UK. So that is the merit that the Odysee program has gotten. So I want to invite Balki. Balki is our OSAT volunteer, and then he runs the entire India operations like for doing the clockwork on the school constructions. He's going to talk about a couple of points just on the school selection criteria, because many people have asked, hey, how do you guys select the school?
Thanks, Padhu. Okay, as Padhu said, we have two operations. One is our the physical infrastructure, which we have been doing for 20 years. The digital infrastructure, which we started 2 years ago. My job is primarily handling all the operations of the physical infrastructure. So I want to explain the few points here. One is, we don't build new schools. We take existing schools and build whatever is the deficit. We have OSAT's strength is one is we have very strict criteria to select a school, because we spend almost rupees 12 lakhs or $15,000. So we $15,000, yeah, $15,000. We spend almost 40 to 60 lakh rupees, which is 15 to 75,000 rupees per school. We want to make sure that we have a good return on investment, and the school improves based on whatever we have provided, both in terms of student strength and the quality of education. So we look for schools, primarily we do government schools, rural schools, and most important criteria is schools should have good student strength and should have very active teachers and villages. Because this makes sure that with whatever infrastructure that we provide, the school grows. So we primarily focus on providing classrooms, toilets and teachers. We don't do anything else. That is our primary focus area. And a few more things we check, we make sure that the school land is in the name of the school has a compound wall, and it has space for new construction, and it has, generally we try to do schools in specific clusters rather than doing across the state. We have a very strict, very detailed process for one is project selection, so our team visits the schools and then decide. One is school selection, which I explained. We have a very strict process or very detailed process for both the design. We have a very detailed process for the school, whatever design as well as execution. We have a dedicated engineering team which includes architects, civil engineers, structural engineers, site engineers, etc. So we manage the complete construction. Once we shortlist a school, we decide what is to be built. Generally, our projects are 4 to 5 units, like 3 classroom and toilet, or 4 classroom and kitchen, etc. So we have standard design for everything. We have standard design for classroom for 40 kids, for 60 kids, for 200 students, washroom for 200 students, kitchen for 200 students, like that. So we have standard design for everything. We have standard design for building. So our engineering teams takes over once we have the funds for the project. They completely manage the execution. So we shortlist local contractors for the project. We don't give money to the government to do construction. Construction is managed completely by us. So our engineering team manages the entire construction. Once construction is completed, we hand over the school to hand over the new building to the school, and then visit the school periodically to see how they are doing, how well they are maintaining what we have built, and how they are growing, and if they require an addition and that. Just 2 points before I conclude. One is, Padhu said 64 schools. Actually, we completed 65 projects. The 65th project was inaugurated today in a district called Ballari. I wanted to tell an interesting fact about this project. This project was funded by a donor in India. He didn't want anybody to know who he is. Only our finance team know who he is. He didn't even want us to put his name in the name board and all, but with some coercion he agreed to that. But other than that, we don't know what is he doing, what is his job. He just called us one day saying that I want to help a school. We said, okay, we can do. Then he said, is this school available? He went to the website. He donated rupees 55 lakhs for that project. And he was so happy when we did yesterday. We sent him the photos of the completed building and the kids enjoying the school. So he was so happy with what we have done. Thank you.
Thank you, Palki. So there are 2 more slides. I know our time is up. So we want to sincerely thank a lot of CSR partners, a lot of donors. Everybody are trying to help us. And of course, this is a volunteer team both in US as well as in India. Just want to share. Thank you very much.
Villages bustling with the energy of our youth. Little girls with big dreams of becoming doctors, teachers, and even scientists. Schools that are safe spaces in our villages. Spaces that shelter and nurture our young minds.
Our dream is not just to build great infrastructure. We want to help children reach their full potential.
ನನ್ನ ಮಗಳು ನಿಹಾರಿಕಾ, ಇವಳು 3ನೇ ಕ್ಲಾಸಲ್ಲಿ ಓದ್ತಿದ್ದಾಳೆ, ಗರ್ಲ್ಸ್ ಮಿಡ್ಲ್ ಸ್ಕೂಲ್ ಮಾಲೂರಲ್ಲಿ. 3 ವರ್ಷದ ಹಿಂದೆ ಮಗುನ ಶಾಲೆಗೆ ಸೇರಿಸಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ನಾನು ಡಿಸೈಡ್ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಶಾಲೆ ನನಗೆ ಸಿಗಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಪ್ರೈವೇಟ್ ಶಾಲೆಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ದುಡ್ಡು ಕೊಟ್ಟು ಓದಿಸೋಷ್ಟು ನನ್ನ ಹತ್ರ ಫೈನಾನ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ಇತ್ತು, ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಆಗಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಈ ಥರ ಸ್ಕೂಲ್ ಸರ್ಚ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಮತ್ತು ಇಂಗ್ಲೀಷ್ ಮೀಡಿಯಮ್ ಅಂತೂ ಯಾವ ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಶಾಲೆಯಲ್ಲೂ ಇರಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಟೈಮ್ ಇವಳು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಗರ್ಲ್ಸ್ ಮಿಡ್ಲ್ ಸ್ಕೂಲಲ್ಲಿ ಇಂಗ್ಲೀಷ್ ಮೀಡಿಯಮ್ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಆಯಿತು. ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಸೇರ್ಸೋಣ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಆಗ ಕಟ್ಟಡ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಇರಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಹಳೆ ಕಟ್ಟಡ, ಮಳೆ ಬಂದರೆ ಸೋರ್ತಿತ್ತು, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬಿದ್ದೋಗೋ ಸ್ಥಿತಿಯಲ್ಲಿತ್ತು. ಇಂಥ ಶಾಲೆ ನನ್ನ ಮಗುನ ಹ್ಯಾಕ್ ಸೇರಿಸಲಿ ಅಂತ ತುಂಬ ಥಿಂಕ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದೆ. ಅಂಥ ಟೈಮಲ್ಲಿ ಹೊಸ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಯವರು ಆ ಶಾಲೆಯನ್ನು ದತ್ತು ತಗೊಂಡು ಒಂದು ಅದ್ಭುತವಾದ ಒಂದು ಬಿಲ್ಡಿಂಗನ್ನು ನಿರ್ಮಾಣ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ.
In the last 90 years, we have built 63 schools and touched the lives of over 60,000 children across Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Uttar Pradesh, Maharashtra, Manipur, and Andhra Pradesh. Cheerful classrooms, playgrounds, labs, and smart screens. OSAT schools empower teachers to give their best.
ಒಸಾಟ್ನ ಒಂದು ವಿಶೇಷತೆ ಏನು ಅಂತಂದರೆ, ಆ ಒಸಾಟ್ನವರು ನಿಖರವಾಗಿ ಮತ್ತು ಪ್ರಾಮಾಣಿಕವಾಗಿ ಮಾಡುವಂಥ ಒಂದು ಸ್ವಯಂ ಸೇವಕರ ಒಂದು ಬಳಗ ಇದೆ. ಅವರಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಷ್ಠೆ ಮತ್ತು ಆ ಏನು ಸಮಯ ಪ್ರಜ್ಞೆ, ಆಮೇಲೆ ಏನು ಅಕೌಂಟಬಿಲಿಟಿ ಏನು ಅನ್ನೋದೆಲ್ಲನೂ ಬಹಳ ಇದೆ. ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದೂ ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಹಾಸುವಾಗಿ ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದು ಟೈಮ್ ಟು ಟೈಮ್ ಒಂದು ಭೇಟಿ ನೀಡಿ ಪರಿಶೀಲನೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತಾರೆ.
OSAT's ODC is designed to minimize and end the disruption caused by the pandemic, to close the digital divide between urban and rural India, so that the children in rural areas have a fighting chance to realize their dreams. Geeta says she likes English but finds maths difficult. ODC helps us drill down to Geeta's school and see how we can help Geeta improve her English skills.
But what's most rewarding are the bright smiles on those young faces as they happily troop into class. If you'd like to experience the same joy, then please do consider making OSAT a part of your donor portfolio.
This is our dream, and we are on our way to reach it, one school at a time. We invite volunteers, donors, and partners to join us in this journey. Let's work together to make India's villages vibrant pockets of growth and prosperity.
So thank you, Padu and Balki. Any organization is just a manifestation of the people it has, and the caliber of volunteers that OSAT has is really what makes the organization. Now, Padu, I talked about him. Balki, I knew him from 20 plus years ago. He's a finance, payment, technology professional who has then shifted to being a full-time volunteer. And all these people, professionals, they're bringing their passion and their skills into the cause of OSAT. And none of this, really can survive without a strong spirit, a driving force, a soul for the organization. And that force for OSAT is Mr. B.V. Jagadish. Jagadish is known as Jagannath by some, affectionately, right, his elder brother. But in reality, if you look at Jagadish, it's Jagadisha, the master of the universe. And he somehow manages to take a portion of himself and manifest himself in different ways. I hear about him going on a hike with somebody, then I hear about him funding a company, then he's helping with OSAT. So that omnipresence is sometimes what is required for organizations like OSAT to be a success. And so I'd like to invite this omnipresent Jagadish to host the next panel, fireside chat.
Thank you. Thank you, Shashi, for the kind introduction. Such a happy thing to be here. And this is our 5th Vidyaadana event. I'm so happy actually to see all of you. You know, about 15, 16 years ago when we started this one school at a time, we never imagined at that time we would get to a stage where we would be doing 100 schools and impacting thousands of children. It all started, I come from a small village called Bangalore, and the founder of OSAT, Mr. Vidyaadana2022, he comes from a village near Mangalore. And both of us had a situation where the schools that we went to was in real bad shape, like the pictures that you saw. So I kind of took the initiative for my village and went and reconstructed the primary school, the middle school, and the high school, all 3 of them. And that sort of led to the state where, hey, why don't we have many other schools similar to this? Because I personally saw when the school was constructed in my village, the number of students who were attending the school, the population actually started to go up. And interestingly enough, the results for many of these children also started to go up. We also learned a lot of interesting things during the process. We felt that as these schools infrastructure starts to fall apart, as that lady was describing, parents hesitate to send their children to these rural schools. And over a period of time, as the school population starts to decline, then you will see the government will essentially start shutting down the school. And almost miraculously, around the same time frame, a lot of these private schools will start popping up in the nearby villages or nearby itself. So what we learned during the process was those who can afford to pay for the private schools are the ones who will send their children to these private schools. Those who cannot afford, guess what happens? They go back into child labor. This is what we learned during the process, and in fact that's what inspired us to accelerate the pace at which we could do more number of schools. So I'm so happy today because, you know, we all live in the Silicon Valley. We are all used to building startup companies. And startup companies, right, the first 5-6 years, it slowly ramps up. And then as you have a good product, as there is a good product market fit, you start seeing the exponential growth. That's exactly what we are seeing right now. So about 10 years ago, or 11 years ago, when these volunteers came to my house for a regular meeting, and at that time, we probably had done about 5 or 6 schools. I said, hey, let's set a goal that we should achieve 100 schools. You remember, Ravi? We should do 100 schools by 2025. Everyone looked at me and said, are you crazy? You've just done about 6 schools. I don't know how we're going to raise that kind of money. I don't know how we're going to bring up all these operations and processes and all of these things to scale to that level. And guess what? Just like anything else, once you put your mind into it, things will start falling in place. And I'm actually happy to say that we are pretty much on target to hit the 100 schools. Probably we'll actually hit it if we do well, just like what happened last year, raising almost $1 million. We could probably finish 100 schools by 2024, Palki? Yes. We can do that? Because we just did the groundbreaking ceremony of the 83rd school, right? And most of those schools will be complete in the next 12 months. And by 2024, we should be on track to finish about 100 schools. So this whole thing, by the way, is all driven 100% by these volunteers. And I want you to give a big hand. Everybody is a volunteer. And people like Balki, he's an Indian Institute of Science graduate. He worked for a company, he's retired from that. He's 100% dedicated for that, right? Most of the times, many of these people, even when they travel to these destination villages and other places, they put their own money for train charges or bus charges or taxi charges or whatever that is. They don't even charge the organization. That's how committed these people are. So it's such an amazing feeling to get to this stage today where we are getting close to 100 schools, and not just that. OSAT, just like any company, you have to keep reinventing. So when the COVID hit, we learned that the government school children are the ones who are the most hit, because all the private school children, as we all know, the day COVID hit, when all the schools were closed, the next day they all started learning from the Zoom. But the government school children were completely cut off. Completely cut off. They had no classes, no teachers, no education. So that's what prompted us to come up with this digital infrastructure class. Now, with or without the class, we can also teach all the rural children exactly the same way. And the OSAT team in India partnered with all the necessary content, infrastructure, everything, system integrated that solution, and we are rolling that out. And in fact, we believe that in the next few years, we can touch even more number of students compared to the physical infrastructure itself. So we have all the languages, and in fact, we can even take the solution outside of India as well. So with this, it's such a pleasure and an honor to have today with us our friend Prabhu Goyal. Prabhu is one of the very first entrepreneurs in Silicon Valley. So he started a company called Gateway Automation, which was acquired by Cadence. And I was very fortunate that Prabhu was an investor in my first company, Exodus Communications. So he showed the confidence in us at the time when we were nobody. When we were nobody, right? Getting that first set of checks is not easy. Somebody to trust you that, and you know, back in those days, right, there were not that many Indians as well. And so, Prabhu, thank you so much for supporting us. And now he runs this very large non-profit organization called Foundation for Excellence, FFE. I don't know how many of you have heard of this, Foundation for Excellence. So Foundation for Excellence is a non-profit organization which once again pretty much caters to the students in India. And his goal was that higher education should be supported to anyone who deserves to study either engineering or medicine or whatever, who cannot afford to pay the kind of fees that they have to pay in the colleges. So that's what prompted Prabhu to start this Foundation for Excellence. And this year, I believe you did 10,000 students. 10,000 students got full scholarships for engineering and medicine. So it's so honored to have Prabhu here. Prabhu, please come on. The other one, once again, I'm very proud to have Padma Shri Warrior. I'm pretty sure many of you who have worked in Cisco and other places know her very well. She has a very, very illustrious career, education and career, coming from Chicago, working for Motorola, and then she came and joined Cisco as a chief technology officer, and then she went on to become CEO of a electric vehicle company, and she runs a company as well even now. And she runs a foundation, she supports a foundation called World Literacy Foundation. And she actually touches the entire literacy aspect, not just India, but for children and people across the globe as well. So it's such a pleasure and an honor to have Padmasri with us. Please come over. So I just want to start with a few questions about your own journey from your very early days as you were growing up. So just wanted to understand, what was it like as you were growing up during those days in India? And did you happen to touch any of the rural, because the impact that you are creating in this nonprofit, there must be something, right, that was probably brewing within yourself in order to start this nonprofit organization. Like me, when I came from a village, so I could really touch and feel every aspect of what I'm doing. So I'm just curious to understand your own background and the rural impact. So same thing applies to you as well.
You take this one.
Thank you so much, Didi. I think you're so kind, and I really appreciate all the good things you've said about our foundation. Really appreciate it. Thank you. To answer your question about my involvement with the rural areas, I don't think I ever was involved with the rural area. I always was in one of the bigger cities, and Nainital is one place where I grew up, and Allahabad, but I think the one experience that I have that I do want to relate to is, first of all, I'm from a middle class family, right? But I was very fortunate that my father believed in making sure that we got the best education, so we went to convent schools and so on, which at that time were not very expensive, so it worked out very well. But one experience I cannot forget. When I was in the 5th grade in Nainital, I used to have a math teacher that came from the local government school. And he convinced my father to pull me out of the government school and put me into the government school. Wow. And so my brother and I, we both went for a day to the government school. And then my dad went to get our transfer certificate from our government school, and the principal over there turned my father's brain around and said, "You're making a huge mistake, bring the kids right back." So in the afternoon, at lunchtime, we came back to regular school. I can just imagine how the world would have changed for us at that. It's hard to imagine what the world would be like, but I think that's an example of how things can change on the spot for you. So I could have very easily been part of a government school program, but the education level was very. I think how I feel the need for doing something like this, I think it's very important to recognize that our own education in India has actually been funded by others. We should never forget that. When we went to IIT, for example, our tuition was like 25 rupees a month. The hostel fees was 12 rupees a month. Our mess bill was 60, 70 rupees a month. How could we afford to live in the kind of infrastructure that we were in for that modest a sum of money? The reason? Because there were taxpayers in India that were actually paying for us. All right? So we should never forget that our own education, no matter which school we went to, as long as it was a government school, was actually being funded by others. And that's one reason why I think we should think about giving back, and then I'll be happy to answer more questions that you have.
Great. Yeah, no, thank you for that. So I grew up in Andhra village, I guess it's now Andhra. I grew up in a place called Vidyaadana, and so I'm not sure if it's rural, it's now I think a very big city. But I think my realization on how important education was, when I was growing up, I had very severe asthma. So I was so bad that I had to be homeschooled for almost a year and a half, meaning like I couldn't go to school. Lessons were sent home and my mom would sit with me and we would do the lessons together. And the lady who worked in our house had a daughter who was my age, and she was going to the local school. And when I was doing homework, like she would want to play with me, and so she would be like watching and waiting for me to finish homework. And my mom would like actually make her come sit with me. And in some ways, like she learned what I was learning, and we learned together. And I had a companion at home, because otherwise I was like missing all my friends, and it was like a very sad time to be home, all sick also. So I think in some ways she became a very close friend, and we kind of continued school together, and my mom insisted that she had to go to college when she finished high school. And of course I went off to IIT, and she went to college actually and got a degree and got a great job so that her mom didn't need to work in other people's homes anymore. And so I think that story was something that really made me realize that actually we learn better when we learn with other children. And also education is the biggest gift we can give to anyone. And so I think that's sort of my brush with how important education is.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me ask you, this foundation that you have started, the World Literacy Foundation. Number one, what inspired you to take on this literacy issue? Because, I was looking at your website and it's very, very touching, because you pretty much say by 2040 or so you want to completely eradicate this literacy issues, because people who cannot read their the labels on their medicine or basic stuff, which is so true, right? When you cannot read and write, someone else can take advantage of you, right? That is the biggest challenge of not being literate. And the basic literacy to have, at least to be able to read and write, that gives so much power to a human being. You take on a pretty massive problem. Yeah. And not just in India, but you really are trying to address this globally, which I think is a very commendable thing. So what inspired you to take on this?
Yeah, so I didn't start the World Literacy Foundation. It's a very large non-for-profit organization that supports literacy around the world. My company, Fable, we partner with them. And so Fable, my current startup, supports reading. By the way, reading is really a very effective tool for mental wellness. And mental wellness is now a global crisis, right? So things like anxiety, depression, loneliness, feeling overwhelmed, feeling burnt out. This is becoming, as people are calling it, the second pandemic, and it affects all age groups, all income levels. And so Fable encourages people to read more. And we're a social platform. We build communities for people to start book clubs and read books together. And what we do is, for every book we sell on our platform, we donate 20% of the proceeds to World Literacy Foundation, so that they can do the work they do to support literacy. And we're also talking to the Barbara Bush Foundation, which focuses on adult literacy. By the way, literacy is so important. In the United States, and I was just talking to the president of that organization, in the United States, 54% of adult Americans cannot read above 6th grade level, English speaking. And so English is not their second language, English is their first language. And so literacy is so important, and this is such a chronic problem all over the world, on the one hand, and the other hand, if you can read, and if you read books, it's actually good for our mind, right? It's not just learning to get a job and earn money, but it actually gives us peace. And so anxiety, stress, depression, all these things, just by reading for 15 minutes a day, it'll actually make us all better human beings. And so I think this is something that I'm very passionate about. And so we work with lots of literacy organizations, and I personally, but my company also does.
Fantastic. So, Prabhu, this Foundation for Excellence that you started, right? What is the inspiration behind that? And I'm also curious to understand, I'm sure during the early stages of when you started this, you were interacting with lots of students, parents, all kinds of people. I just want to understand some interesting anecdotes that you learned. So I'll give you one myself that happened to me when I was sitting as part of the inauguration of one of the schools that we had gone to, and there was this, the local elected member, MLA, who was sitting next to me, and as the process was going on, he started getting into a conversation. So he said, "Do you have any relatives or anybody who live here?" I said, "No." do you have any property in this area? I said, no. Do you have any friends or any connections to this place? I said, no. So he said, that means you have no connection to this place whatsoever. And still you came from 10,000 miles away to do this school. I said, yeah. We have done not just this, we have done many other schools. So when he got up on the stage to speak about this, he said, look guys, we don't know whether the God exists or not. But let me tell you, these are the people who have zero connection to this village, who have come here to do this school. These are our gods. I know that was so touching, right, to hear this pretty much impromptu from this local politician. But I'm just curious to understand what kind of anecdotes that you've seen.
So I think I'll relate, so I'll go back to what inspired me to do this as well. So it was 1990 when I sold my company to Davis Design Systems, and we found ourselves with some wealth that was a little bit more than what we needed for our family. And the natural question that came up is, what do we do with what we have? And so one thing that you can do is you can spend. It's very easy to buy a jet, and those days we probably could have afforded to fly private jets and so on. But that's not our value system. Our value system, we've grown up in a middle-class family. We like to be a value-oriented family. We like to do things that make sense. So we said, what are we going to do with this money? And my wife and I, we had this conversation, and we said, you know, we really don't own this world. This world really doesn't belong to us. We're really custodians of this because we came empty-handed, we'll leave empty-handed. And the way we're going to be evaluated when we get up to the real judge station, the omnipresent judge station, is what did he do with the gift that we gave? That's the wealth. So he wasn't thinking about what do we do with this in a way that says we did something good out of it. My wife and I decided at that time, we really didn't know how we were going to do it. We said we'll make a difference in the lives of 10,000 children in a major way. It has to be a transformational impact, and we didn't know how we were going to live with that. That's how we started. Then it gradually evolved, and this idea came about that we fund the engineers and the doctors, people who cannot afford their education. It's really a transformational impact on their lives. In fact, we just recently calculated that the return on investment that we're making in their education, the ROI is over 120 times of the scholarship that they get. That's the immediate impact that we get in terms of the earnings capacity over the next 30 years from when they graduate. To go back to the anecdotes that you were asking about. So, you know, we have open houses in India where we bring our scholars together, and sometimes there will be 500 in the audience, sometimes there will be 800 of the scholars coming together, and we invite different speakers to motivate them and to kind of talk to them. Because the inspiration and motivation is also very important for scholars as they come from environments in which they don't see that. And the thing that, the one anecdote I relate to, which my wife also talks about, is the parents of some of these scholars would come and say, listen, you're giving us all this money, exactly where you're going to be, for our children. Why? You don't know us, you're not connected with us, and you come from a totally different world. Why are you doing this? And I think it's literally makes you cry. I mean, the emotion that they express and the kind of appreciation that they have for somebody who's totally disconnected with this really makes them feel so emotional. The emotion runs back as well. And I think the thing that it reminds me of is that in Gita, what Krishna said is that we need charity. Okay? The charity should be such that when you talk about some donors of yours that are not publicly known, the charity should be hidden. Okay? If you broadcast your charity, the karmas that you get out of that are full. So sorry that we have to broadcast our karmas.
Somebody told me, you should do it because that helps to inspire others. That's what somebody told me. Actually, I was the same way. Not disclosing the name, and he said, no, you should disclose because that's what will help inspire lots of other people to contribute as well. Anyway, so that's very interesting. So thank you so much for sharing this. So one last question I just want to understand, because you have scaled this from a very small number to almost like 10,000. Curious to understand, right, operational challenges, because in your case, you have to do the due diligence on the student to whom you're going to give the scholarship. And it's not easy because a lot of times students, not necessarily students, anybody would just fake it to get that scholarship. And it's a very hard challenge when you scale to that level. You know, I'm trying to understand from our perspective as we grow to the next level, from 100 schools into 1,000 schools across the whole country, right? What are some of the tips that we should be watching out for from operational scaling perspective?
I'm not sure I can give you tips for your scaling, but I can tell you how we scale, right? And then maybe one of you
Yes.
I can try to suggest some tips in that area. So for us, the initial view that we had, how did we determine whether the scholars were qualified? We made sure they were in the top 15% of their graduating class. So before they got admitted to college, they had to be in the top 15%, and they had to have an admission to an engineering school or a medical school that was not a capitation. So it was a government-funded school when they had admission. So that already set us up for the academic. Need closer? Sorry. My wife is always.
Just wants to make sure you are heard.
I'm very grateful to her, you know. So that is one filter that we use. The second thing that we require is that they submit some kind of data and evidence for us to be able to establish that their family income is below 3 lakhs per year. And 3 lakhs per year is a very low amount. In the earlier days, it used to be much smaller. And one way that we validate that now is we actually, in addition to the paperwork, we do a video check on their home. So we do a Zoom call into their house, somebody walks us through the house, and by looking at most people's homes and the way they conduct themselves, how they live, and so on, we can tell very easily what kind of economic strata they come from. So those are the two things that we do. In addition, we have volunteers that usually go visit some people's home wherever we can.
So that is random use.
So we have about 1,000 volunteers across India that do that kind of stuff.
So it is a volunteer, heavily volunteer, you know, very nice, which is very similar as a, very good, very good. Any other final thoughts you want to share about the importance of volunteering in an organization like this and you know, donating money to help uplift so that you can pull people out of poverty cycle?
Yeah, I mean, I think the only thing I'll say is a lot of us, like, we're all busy, right? We're all busy, we have our lives, we have our day jobs, and sometimes it's easy to think about, I don't have time. I think it's very important to make the time to give back in whatever way we can. I think to me, it's sort of like figuring out how if you focus on what's important, will make the time. So I think I would just encourage everyone to not brush it off as, I'll do it someday when I have more time, because that day will never come. I think you have to make time every day to do that.
Fantastic.
I was very curious to read about the digital program, or hear about the digital program that you set up, because I can see that you're saying, how can I add more value to this product? And what it reminds me of is the program that we have started in the foundation, our foundation as well. It is a program that we started in our foundation as well, because we realized that the education that the children were getting in the colleges was not enough for them to compete with students that were coming from more financially privileged families. So what we have started is a program that we call soft skills, where we're providing across the board teaching and things like how do they speak in English, how do they interview, how do they network, how do they get to connect with the alumni that we have in FFE so that they derive value from that. And then we find all kinds of courses for them in areas that they're deficient in through Coursera and so on. And we have certificates that we get from Microsoft and IBM to help them get certificates that actually have additional value when they go get jobs. And what this has done is that it has taken scholars that ordinarily used to get below market salaries, now they're getting above market salaries, even though they come from financially underprivileged communities. I think what you have done with your digital program is
Trust me, I actually sat in one of the classes last year, and I almost felt at that time, I should become a student. Because it is so practical way of learning, because, these modern digital classes, right? They have all this animation and graphics, and everything is explained in the most simplistic and understandable manner. It's not just the theory aspect of it. So when I sat in this class, it was a science class that I sat, and honestly I felt, man, I should become a student now. So anyway, thank you so much, both of you, for spending your time. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
So we have some special guests waiting to converse with this audience. Usually everyone want to just stay here. So these are the students of Chikakantur School, and they're just waiting to come and have a moment.
Thank you so much. Are they going to come on the stage and speak? Yes. We have another good friend of mine, with whom I work with very closely as well, Akshay Patra. He's the chairman of Akshay Patra, Shivaram. He's not here in person today, but he has sent a small video just to communicate, because he also comes from a village, and what inspired him to do whatever he's doing, I think it's a very, are you ready with the video? Okay, good. So that is Shivaram. Shiva is right now the president.
Hello, my name is Sivaram. I'm the president of Western Digital. I'm also the chairman of Akshay Patra in the US. As you can see, I am very interested in what is going on in education in India. My mother was a kindergarten teacher. My father started a school that later on became a university. I grew up in an educational background. However, I did grow up in an area that was very poor. The rural schools where in our early days we sat on the ground, used slate for writing initially. We did not use paper and pencil till I got to third grade. That was almost 50 years ago. There are still schools like that in India. With Akshay Patra, we are making sure there's food in these schools. But the infrastructure, the crumbling schools and the inability of teachers to communicate with their children and the children to learn, we need to fix that. We often say that in India, the government has won the battle in getting children to schools, but lost the war in educating them. It is in this context that an organization such as One School at a Time becomes very important. We in the US have had the advantages of India in pursuing our education and gotten to where we've gotten to. But the billion-odd children in India, the hundreds of millions that are yet to come, do need to get the kind of opportunity that we have had. I am looking forward to OSAT being that catalyst. That's the reason Western Digital, my company, supported OSAT with iPads and other tablets in some of the schools. I personally am considering my own hometown where we can continue to build on the existing infrastructure with the OSAT-like schools. My fellow alumni from National Institute of Technology have adopted 2 schools, one near Dindigul and one near Trichy, both of which probably can use the OSAT-like infrastructure. I'm looking forward to working very closely with you all in OSAT, and I hope you all open your hearts, minds, and wallets to a worthy cause such as this.
Thank you, Shiva. Shiva is from a small village near Madurai, Tamil Nadu. And interestingly enough, when I was having a conversation with him about a month and a half ago, he was planning to get a school constructed. This is the school that he went to. And when I told him about the OSAT, he said, typically, how much does it cost to do a school? So I gave him an idea about somewhere around 60 to 75 lakhs for a 6-classroom school. And he said, that's all? We seem to be getting proposals almost double that. So I told him, I said, because 50% of the work is actually done by the volunteers, and that's what actually helps to bring the overall cost down. He said, talk to me more about it. Maybe here is an opportunity for us to work together on another project. I mean, you know, I've been working with him very closely at Akshay Patra, but he wants to get associated with OSAT as well. So, as Padma said, people like that, whether you're a CEO or a president, you make the time to make a difference in somebody else's life. And you can always find the time. And you can always say, you can always have an excuse by saying, I don't have time. But that's not an excuse, right? Let's go figure out how we can find the time, like all these amazing volunteers. So this is Sudhir, who is the one who conceived the idea of this OSAT digital infrastructure. And he's yet another technical guy who used to live in the US and he has gone back to India and he's working as a volunteer tirelessly. He actually gets upset that we don't put enough effort to raise the money for the ODC. So he says, you guys spend too much time on the physical infrastructure aspect. Yes, that's important, but it's also equally important that you educate the donors on the digital infrastructure because it has a much bigger impact in the long run. Okay, what do we have today?
You might have to do a little bit of a technical jugglery here because...
School, right?
Yeah.
So we have the students and the headmistress of Chikakantur School, along with the person who championed ODC. So they're all...
This is a school supported by Sudhir and Sumana. Can I invite them here?
Please.
Sudhir, Sumana, would you please come here? I want you to meet the teachers, the students whom you have supported. You should come and ask some questions. Come here. Sudhir, we cannot hear you. Can you hear us? No. Are we muted? Why don't we start the donor panel and then while we figure out the technical issues.
Yeah. Okay. So next, I just want to thank BBJ and Farsad panelists, Padma as well as Dr. Prabhu Goyal. As we talked about, the volunteers are important, but equally important are the donors. They are on two ends of the spectrum. And we've had donors donating in different ways, shapes and forms. Some have donated time, some have donated money, and some have donated both. And this is a panel where we will be talking about going from being go-getters to go-givers. And we have distinguished panelists here who have given in kind, sponsored the school, and we've also had people like Mr. Mani from Shasta Foods. If you are fans of the dosa or idli batters, you see the OSAT logo there. That's another form of donation, and the percentage goes to OSAT there. And we've also had Western Digital and others that have donated hundreds of iPads to the ODC program. So in the spirit of donating and giving, we will be having this panel moderated by Chandar Patabiram. Chandar is a recent OSAT board member, and in his day job, he's the CMO of Coupa Software. And Chandar, please take it away.
Thank you, thank you. Good evening, everybody. How's everybody doing? Wonderful. Give it one more time. Let's give it up for BD and Dr. Goel and Padam Sri. Great panel. And Padam Sri, I think that was a great line on learning and lighting for life. I tell my daughters, my two daughters, to live a life of learning. It's so important. Awesome. So the session now is how do we all go from being go-getters to go-givers? Okay, that's the session now. We're going to have some people come and inspire us. But before I get for us to listen to the people, I'd like to do something for 25, 30 seconds, okay? So when I ask you, I would love all of us to close our eyes, 25 seconds, and I'll tell you when. And think about the last time you helped somebody who had a real dire need and what you felt about it. Can we do that? Let's do it. 20 seconds, please. Thank you. Thank you for doing that. I don't know what you felt in those 20 seconds or 25 seconds. What I felt when I thought about it was two things. One was what that person's response was when I actually helped that person. It wasn't really something big. It was a combination of time and money. But just that joy in that person when you did something. And the second was, why couldn't I have done more of it? Why was it so episodic rather than it being more continuous? And when I reflect on it, why that is the case, it's because many of us in this room, starting with me, we have sequenced our lives. We have sequenced our lives in such a way that a lot of us are, in every table, it's like, how do we come to Silicon Valley? How do we become go-getters? How do we make all this success? How do we raise in our careers? How do we get all this monetization? And then at some point in time, we wake up and said, okay, let's start giving. So we've sequenced the problem, as opposed to saying it is getting and giving. And because we've looked at giving with a capital G, meaning I can't do something big, and I can't do something big till I get something big. But really, giving can be a set of small G's put together that can be a capital G. Great inspiration for this, I recently learned this, is from, believe it or not, from the Gen Zs. I was interviewing a lady from UCLA who had just graduated, a very smart person, trying to start to come and work for our company. And so I was going around this concept of why should you come work at Coupa and talking about all the performance benefits of the company, meaning we do so well, blah, blah, blah. And she stopped me at some point and said, what is the purpose that you have? What are the purposes and causes that you're dealing with? Here was somebody who was like 24 years old asking me this question. I never would have asked the question when I was 24 years old. Never. It wasn't even in my mind at that point in time. And I was like, whoa, I got to answer. Here are some causes that you're doing. And her point was, the purpose that your organization has or what you're doing is more important to me. Is as important to me as much as what you're doing, right? And so the sequencing is purpose with performance and not necessarily saying that let's get all the go-getting and then being go-giving. It's something that is happening right in front of us. And every one of us, as Padam Sri said, can make the time to do it. But to do it, we all need inspiration, right? That's why stories are. When we hear stories, we get inspired by stories. That's what great stories do to us, whether it's in the movies, whether it's in real life. So today we have 4 great stories of people who have inspired us, who are inspiring us to make the shift, balance this equation of going from really good go-getters to be very, very big go-givers, and specifically associated with this cause. So at this time, let's hear from them. I know that I'm between you and some food, so I'm going to sharpshoot it, and we'll hear some really good insights. I want to invite Mani, Gopal, Raj, and Sanjeev to the stage, please. Please come. Mani, oh, Sanjeev. Okay. So let's get this go-getters to go-givers panel started. So what I want to start with is 60 seconds. Tell us 60 seconds of what you do and one interesting fact about yourself that none of us know about. Bob, let's start with you.
Hello, Gopal Hegde. I am in charge of engineering and operations at Seema.ai, which is a startup in Silicon Valley. I've been in Silicon Valley for 30 years. Grew up in a small town called Belgaum, which is northern part of Karnataka. And I went to a government school, Kannada medium government school. And after that, I moved here about 30 years ago, and I've been in different small companies and large companies. One of the interesting facts about me, I'm an avid hiker as well as a foodie. Thank you.
Foodie? Okay, that's a great segue into the next person. Mani, tell us a minute about yourself and an interesting fact.
Good evening, everybody. I'm not planning to use a mic.
That's correct.
So, my name is Mani Krishnan. I have been in the Valley for the last 45 years. My background is I'm an accountant, academically. I did electronic export for 20 years. You know, Micronics, Jagdish, first company worked in India, Wipro, Western Digital were all customers of mine in India at that time. We went bankrupt in 2003. You know, at that point of time, the choice was, you know, to try to pad up a resume and go and work for someone. I said that is not my cup of tea. So I decided to sell batter. So for the last 20 years, I've been battering people. From processed food from processors to processed food. I've been very lucky to be in the Valley. I simply enjoy my life. The one fact that I wanted to share about me was I've done a lot of dramas in my life, starting from 1981. We have done about 15 plays and 30 performances, and this is my 31st performance.
It's great. Thank you. It's great food for thought, as I say. All right. Raj, tell us about yourself.
Hello. So my name is Raj Vaidyavar, and I'm from North Karnataka, Hubli, Dharwad. And as everybody, I am also here for almost 30 years. And for last 20 years, me and my brother Umesh here, we had a company and we sold it. Then of course we became very bored. Then again we started one more company for last 1 year. And my passion is food, you can see it. Right here. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you. And Sanjeev.
Thank you for having me here. So my name is Sanjeev Sardana. I run a company called Blue Point Capital. And I started my career on Wall Street in 1998. Worked for a Swiss bank for about 8 years. And just got tired of the conflicts of Wall Street and started my own company in 2006. So today we have two companies, Blue Point Capital, which manages money for a lot of tech entrepreneurs here in the Valley. And then we also have a separate company called Blue Point Ventures, which invests in early stage tech companies. So fact about me is don't ever ask me to sing or dance. And the reason for that is, I got inspiration from our dad, who is a very good singer, he's a very good dancer, and I thought it was very easy. So when COVID hit, I said, okay, I'm going to take some singing lessons. So I hired a teacher out of India, and I took 2 lessons, and I realized very quickly it's not something for me. So that's the fact about me.
Interesting. I do have the same problem, but you know, your passion can exceed your talent when it comes to these things, right? So I want to start with you, Mani, since you talked about battling people. What was your inspiration to give and your story of giving?
See, the main point is, I have seen no money a couple of times in my life. You know, one was in 1990, where I lived on credit cards for a couple of years. And again in 2003, when we couldn't collect about $1 million in India, again lived on credit card for 2 years. You know, the biggest inspiration for me, academically, even though I didn't do well, both my kids are brilliant kids. One of them is in education. She has an undergraduate degree from Redlands. She has a master's degree from NYU in education. And right now she is doing a master's degree in mental health, etc. And I have a son who's a lawyer from Berkeley. And he, of course, a Berkeley lawyer. I don't have to say anything. He did his undergraduate from UCLA. Both of them are not interested coming anywhere near my business. You know, and for me, the biggest wealth that I have given them is the kind of education that I have managed to give them in spite of so many of my ups and downs. And the fact that they don't want to inherit any of my wealth, you know, is an important lesson for me. I don't give too much importance to money, having seen nothing and everything today. So that is my biggest inspiration. We end up supporting a lot of organizations. I see a lot of volunteers spending humane amount of time. And at this point of time, I like to consider myself as a squirrel trying to support on their endeavors. That's all.
What's your story of inspiration?
As they say, right, if you want to transform a country, you invest in education and infrastructure. So what I see with OSAC is the fact that they're actually helping educate India. The buildings that they build will last for hundreds of years. When you give money to an institute in India, you are not sure whether the money will be well spent. I think with the people that are behind OSAC and 100% a volunteer-led organization, it's very inspiring to see the kind of effort they put in and the difference they are making in the lives of all these students. And we are all doing our little part by contributing whatever little we can to help the cause. And it's very inspiring to see them put the effort necessary to make a big difference.
Wonderful, wonderful on that. Just to follow up on that, you know, Raj or Sanjeev, any story in your life that has kind of inspired you to become, you know, into this path of being good givers?
Sure, happy to share that. So, you know, I'll give you a little background on how I came to this country. My brother's here, Sandeep as well, and we moved here in '85. Our dad worked for the American Embassy in Delhi and decided all of a sudden that he wanted to move to the US. So we didn't come here to go to college. We came here because our dad decided to just move here. He had to give up his job, came here, and started, you know, to look for a job. And within a week to 10 days of coming here, he got back problem, and he could not even walk. So he was basically, he had no money for his operation, his surgery, and he had not saved much money either. So all of a sudden, so Sandeep, he's a year ahead of me, he came here for college. I was in 12th grade, and all of a sudden, both of us found ourselves taking care of our family because dad could not do anything at that time, and we were just trying to raise money for surgery itself. And our college and high school basically was half the time we were working, trying to pay bills, and the other half time was going to college and go to high school. And then, you know, since we had no money and we went to college, our education was actually paid by people like you, US taxpayers, because both of us got educated through the financial aid system here. And that's, you know, for us, is basically the biggest inspiration to give back, you know, to the education.
Great story, Raj.
way I look for any society to for progress, then education I take it as very basic thing. So that's what I thought when last year my brother came, he told me like, we were just chatting. He said, you went to OSAT. I said, what is it? He said, they do schools in rural area. Then I said, what do they take money and just forget it? He said, no, they actually do a good job. Here is the website. I went on the website and what I saw, I really liked it. Then I just thought at the moment I should do it.
Wonderful, great story, Raj. Let's actually, continue on that. Every one of us has choice in what organizations we want to give. But every one of us, every one of you, have chosen to give it to OSAT. Mani, I'll start with you. What is the differentiation, as we say in Silicon Valley? What's the onlyness, the differentiation of OSAT as an organization that felt attractive for you?
OSAT, of course, Jagdish is an inspiration. He is a Karyakarta and a Sutradhari by any standard. I have known him for the last 10 years. And, before that, of course, we used to follow his Exodus Carrier, etc. Always an inspiration. The way he engages in a conversation, either in a forum or on a one-on-one, the kind of empathy and the kind of engagement he shows is just amazing. And I'm not telling this to flatter you. We have had a couple of times, I have met him on the way to India, in Dubai airport. Even at that time, he talks about OSAT. Whenever he walks, whenever he talks, whenever he flies, he talks OSAT. And we do our small contribution through our online portal. And my office sends a mail saying that this is the contribution for OSAT, at 3:30 in the morning. At 4 o'clock, he acknowledges that mail. 4 o'clock in the morning, the gentleman acknowledges the mail. That is a great inspiration, and the fact that it is volunteer driven and not padded with salaries, etc., and the kind of sharing that Paddu also shares on a weekly note is a great inspiration for me.
Wonderful, wonderful. Great. And it's a transition from a lot of times we give it's black box given we don't know the transparency. The transparency is really great from that perspective. Gopal, you want to add to that?
Just to add to what Mr. Mani said, right? So we know most of the volunteers here, starting with Jagdish, starting with Vadaraj Bhatt, and with Patu. And if you look at the kind of information they share with us about the things that are going on, the money is being well spent, right? I mean, it's the same thing I will say about FFE as well, right? So they talk about the scholar and the specific people we are helping. And volunteer-led means every dollar we give goes to the beneficiary, which is a really positive thing, right? I can't say that for most of the organizations that we donate to. So that is what really makes it so easy to contribute to OSAT.
Wonderful, wonderful. Sanjeev, just piggybacking on that and maybe talking about the next generation. So you all made the leap, For all of us who have kids in impressionable ages, what guidance do you have? How do you make the kids get into this act earlier in life than many of us do in the past?
Yeah, I would say that get them to lead by example and get them started as early as possible. It's like Padma Shri was talking about earlier, there's no time, as now. Get started early, inspired by, being an example yourself.
Mine will be very simple. There will be one reason to do it, 1,000 reasons not to do it. That's how I look at it. Because you heard from everybody what are the advantages and everything, and you make the choice and do it.
Wonderful. So let's wrap this up, and I want to go around the horn with each of us, and Mani, I'll start with you again. What is the one piece of advice, if based on all that you've done with OSAT, your giving experience, if you have to give this audience, this is what I want you to take away. This is the Twitter headline I want you to take away. What's the one piece of advice you'll give the audience?
Friends, please remember, we are not going to take anything with this in this world. Wealth can be measured in the amount of bank balance. Wealth can be measured with the kind of friends we have. Wealth can be measured in the kind of education we provide our children. Wealth can be measured by the kind of education we provide other children. Those are all the legacies that all of us can live. And based on this audience, I don't think all of us need too much to live. And my opinion is, live for the present, enjoy today, and do your best in terms of giving. That gratification, the kind of gratification that is going to bring in our lives, is going to be something different.
Shouldn't matter what kind of amount we are talking about. So whether a small kid to elderly person, whatever amount they can contribute to the positive cause, do it, right? No amount is too small, and as they say in Kannada, "Ani kodadra alla." So you can make a lot of money with multiple people contributing. So that's basically my advice.
Wonderful. And Raj? Same thing, just do it. Nike, just do it. Different, good cash flow. It's Ajit.
So, a few years ago I attended a conference on philanthropy, and they asked one question to everybody. They said, "What is your dash?" And we were all kind of thinking about it. What do you mean? What is your dash? They said, when you die, and they see that, okay, Sanjeev, 1968 to dash what? How these people are going to remember you? Right? And that's what you guys should be thinking about. How do people want to remember you, right? So, give your money to OSAT.
Thank you. So, I think this was a session from Dosa Backer to make the world better. I think there is some great perspectives here. But the real key, if you take away, is, we make a living based on what we earn, we make a life based on what we give. That was very, very clear in the feedback that was shared today. So these people inspire us today. Let's take that inspiration and make it into action. Thank you. Thank you.
Can you all
So while the technical difficulties are getting sorted out, Sudhir was texting me that we need an Odissi program for puberty now.
We lost the school. I'm ready to get them back on.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Sanjeev. Thank you, Raj.
I can hear you. Yeah, school is having a little bit of technical challenges right now because of connection, but we'll have to read it and then I'll connect with the audience. Plan B if school is having connectivity issues. Okay.
All right. So,
phone in the money data. The phone will connect money. Phone will smartphone will connect.
Alright, till the technical difficulties get started, can I see if Shreyas and Shreya are around here? Step on. When Mani sir were talking, and he was talking about batter, I saw half the room stand up. The North Indians, they don't get the dosa and idlis. So they thought it was a batter, and the Indian cricket team which badly needs a batter right now. And we just had 4 mics, and weren't you glad with this panel? I mean, everybody gave such a wonderful perspective. Hats off to all of you. So meanwhile, I just like to, get perspective from 2 people who actually visited Norsat school. These are 2 young children, and they went and spent nearly a month there. So Shreyas and Shreya, come on. So you guys spent your summer break going to Norsat schools. Why don't you share what your experience was there?
Hello, I'm in 11th grade at Basis Independent Silicon Valley.
I'm an 8th grader at Challenger School.
And we both spent last summer in Bangalore, where we volunteered at the Mahler Girls' School and the Chikundar School. It was one of the most memorable experiences for us and really gave us the insight into the value of education and the impact that OSAT was making. We want to thank OSAT for giving us the opportunity to volunteer, and special thanks to Bibi Uncle, Vadi Uncle, Patu Uncle, Sudhir Uncle, and many others.
So when we first visited at the Mahler School, we joined the school assembly where we got the opportunity to teach the students there some nursery rhymes and dances. One of them we taught them was the 5 little monkeys jumping on the bed. That was such a fun one to teach. It was really awesome to see the level of enthusiasm they had for learning.
After the assembly, we helped conduct baseline tests via the ODSI program, where we helped students use tablets, connect to Wi-Fi, access Google Classroom, and complete.
ಸರ್ ನೀವು ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಸ್ಕೂಲ್ ಆಚೆ ಕಡೆ ಹೋಗಿ ನೋಡಿ ಸ್ಕೂಲ್ ಬಿಲ್ಡಿಂಗ್ ತೋರಿಸಿ ಸ್ಮಾರ್ಟ್ ಫೋನ್ ಇಂದ ಸೋಮಶೇಖರ್ ಸರ್.
These assessments help the local teachers to gauge which areas the students need the most improvement.
So after the test, we had time for a Q&A session where the students asked us about our education and life in America, and we learned a lot about their life as well. We met this girl who knew 7 different languages, and she was very curious about our school life. The love and affection that the students gave us was unforgettable.
So what was the most memorable thing for you as a takeaway?
I think the most memorable was how quickly they learned the online platforms. Like, we just had to teach them once, and then they picked it up really quickly and didn't need any more help. So I'm sure that in the future, even though we're not there, they'll be able to keep on working and using the online tools.
My kids are in the audience. If they want to go to a Norsat school, what would you recommend for them?
So we have a booth outside. We started a youth volunteer program. So I'm the lead for that, and you can just come talk to us at our booth, and we can help you sign up.
All right, this is Jen next. Big hand to Shreyas and Shreya. Well done. So this is the legacy which will keep on going. Thanks to both of you for doing good with the school.
Consent, sir. ಈ ಬ್ಲೂಟೂತ್ ಮೈಕ್ರೋಫೋನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇದೆಯಾ? ಹೌದು ಸರ್, ಶೂರ್. Yes, I have. We can hear you. You can pin the school instead of me. You can pin the school on the Zoom call and then put it on screen.
Sudhindra and Sumana, would you please come on? This is your school. So we have a welcoming dog there. Security.
ಲ್ಯಾಪ್ಟಾಪ್ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀರಾ ಸೋಮಶೇಖರ್? ಲ್ಯಾಪ್ಟಾಪ್ ಇಲ್ಲ ಸರ್, ಮೊಬೈಲ್ ಇಂದ ಮಾತಾಡೋದು. ಓಕೆ.
So this is Somshekhar. It is his mobile.
ಎಸ್ ಎಸ್ ಎಸ್. ನೋಡಿ, ನಿಮಗೆ ಸುಧೀಂದರ್ ಆಮೇಲೆ ಸುಮನ ಅವ್ರು ಕಾಣ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರಾ ಮೊಬೈಲ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ? ಹಲೋ, ಹಾಯ್ ಸುಮನ, ಹಾಯ್ ಸುಧೀಂದರ್. Yeah, so we have not met personally each other. First time we are meeting on the Zoom call, so very glad to see you both, and also introduce you to the school that you built for the first time virtually. So this is a kind of a new world we are living in, and thanks so much for your generous contribution. And this is the school you made, and you are able to see the school and also the toilet next to that. So Shekhar sir, if you can focus a little bit.
Shall I go inside the classroom, sir?
No, stay outside. No, please stay outside. So, I mean, you saw there are children coming in, and then there are also some puppies who have come to the school today. This is Chikapuntur school. I hope you are enjoying the sights, and then I don't know whether you are able to hear some bird chirpings. Sometimes you could hear that. So all over to you. You can ask me or Shekhar, who is also behind the camera, whatever you want to know more about the school, and we'll be glad to share more information. What you already know. Yes,
Hi, madam. ಇಲ್ಲ ಮೇಡಮ್, ಇನ್ನ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿಲ್ಲ. ನಾವು ಬಂದು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಜಾಯ್ನ್ ಆಗಿದ್ದೀವಿ ಮೇಡಮ್. you provided both are building
Shekhar, you can Madari.
Students are enjoying a lot. Thank you very much, madam.
It is our pleasure. It's our pleasure.
It's looking very nice, the classroom.
So how are the facilities turning out right now?
Sir, if you do permission, I will go inside the classroom and show you, sir.
Yeah, okay.
Go ahead, Shekhar.
School hasn't yet started, so there are a few students who have come in and they've been waiting.
This is the corridor. First room, sir. Center and left.
So the screen that you see is the Odyssey is connected to that digital screen that you saw on the wall. So there is one more classroom like that. This is a second classroom. And the third classroom is lying opposite to it. Shekhar, can you focus on the stone plate, please? Yeah. So Sumana and Sudhindra, your name is on the school, so thanks so much.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, madam. Sir, whenever visit to Bangalore, please kindly visit our school, sir.
Yes, we will. We'll definitely try to do that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. This is the third classroom, sir.
Looks nice. So hope it's made a difference to all of you.
Shall I show you talent, sir? Talent, sir.
Quickly, Shekhar. Papa, all kaita idare. Bega equipment toosi.
Okay, sir.
Sir, this is so there is a wash area, and this is right now the toilet is kind of locked and wash area, and then the girls' toilet. So, any other questions, Sumana and Sudhindra, for the school or me, overall, whatever Chikapuntur is doing? And Chikapuntur is also part of the Odyssey program and the digital infrastructure program. And I'm very happy to tell you that Chikapuntur is taking one of the lead positions in terms of implementation and also education programs.
So is the classroom service sufficient for all the students who are coming?
Yes,
madam.
Here they used to come combined Kannada medium and English medium in the same schools. Yeah, so earlier they didn't have enough space. Now they are able to conduct the different medium sections in different classrooms. So English medium sections are going to shift to this building, and Kannada medium classes are going to continue in the older classrooms.
Sounds good. Thank you, Sudhir. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thanks, Somshekhar. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
So this school was groundbroken exactly a year ago in October 2021, and now you see the building and the facilities are. So with that, we'll come to, I guess, the center point of today's evening, which is really the pledge that we will all pull together. Most of you have on your desks a list of schools. There is also a pledge card. And here you can, check the box in terms of the amount of money that you would like to donate. And we will go through different tiers that Mangala will spearhead. So the pledge card itself, you can ask us to contact you. And there are different ways in which you can donate money. With the crash in FTX, we're not accepting crypto right now. But all other forms of money we would be accepting, including PayPal and Venmo. So there are QR codes on your desk as well. So the good news is, of the 20 schools, 5 have been already fully funded. Right? 5 schools out of 20 fully funded. The great news is 15 more to go that you all have an opportunity to chip in. 2 of them are partially funded. And we have a variety of schools, 2 from Meghalaya, we have schools from Telangana, we have schools from different states in India, including Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, and then schools from Karnataka. So you can either pick a school and say the donation needs to go there, or it can go into the general fund. So with that, let me invite Mangala over. Mangala Kumar has been a volunteer at OSAT since inception, and she's also one of the driving forces behind this organization. Over to you, Mangala.
Thank you very much, Rishi. I'd like to thank Balki for reminding everyone that I'm the oldest OSAT volunteer. I've been with OSAT since 1999, even before it was OSAT, when people were still thinking about creating the organization of OSAT. So I'm extremely proud to be associated with an organization like OSAT. And I personally cannot think of a better way to donate my time and energy to a greater cause. As we all know, Vidyaadana literally means to donate, to educate. So if anybody is still looking for the meaning of that, that is literally what it is. When we hear certain statements like old is gold and where there's a will, there's a way and all that, we roll our eyes and say that is such a cliche. But there is one thing that's not a cliche forever and ever. I'll tell you what that is. We all have heard that you give a fish to a hungry man, you feed him for a day. But you teach him how to fish, he will eat for the rest of his life. And that is never a cliche. So when we do Vidyaadana, that is exactly what you're doing. You are giving a child an opportunity to build a better life for the child and their family, their community, and ultimately the country. That said, I would like to draw your attention to the pledge card that you all have on your tables. I recognize a lot of go-getters. In fact, I see every one of you as a go-getter. So let's turn you into a go-giver today. You heard from a lot of go-givers what it meant to them to support OSAT and to support the cause that OSAT has been OSAT has had at the center of its heart for the last 20 plus years. So I hope we have motivated a lot of you. You also heard how all the volunteers work and how every single dollar that we raise is put to use in the most optimal way. So
So I just got informed that one of the schools is being fully funded, which is the school in Koppala, KO3, so that got picked up. So you have 14 more schools to go.
That is wonderful news. So hopefully by the time I'm done with the pledge, we will add more to that number, Shashi. Thank you.
Keep talking, keep talking.
That's very good news. So as you see on your pledge card, there are different levels, different tiers of donation. So I would repeat what Shivam said. He basically said, open your hearts and souls and your wallets. So that's what I would request all of you to do. So the way we are going to do that is I'm going to announce the pledge level, and anybody who wishes to donate at that level, you please raise your hand. Our volunteers are standing on either side of the hall, and they will walk over to you and they will give you a little memento of the occasion, and then we will move on to the next tier. So for the 2,500 level, I just want to narrate my own personal experience. Every time I visit India, I visit quite a few schools. I try. I unfortunately don't have any horror stories of having gone to a rural school. I was born and brought up in Bangalore, so I've gone to some very fancy schools. But every single day of my life, I'm extremely grateful to the education I got and what education has done to me personally. So, you cannot really say anything negative about educating somebody or the value of educating a child in rural India. So, like I said, I see a lot of you, you have picked up the cards. So, do we have any donors at the 2,500 level? Please raise your hand. Okay, we have one there. Thank you, sir. If anybody needs a pledge card, you please let us know. Because you may have picked a smaller amount and you may want to change your mind, and we are more than happy to give you a new card. So please don't be shy. Thank you very much. And as Shashi mentioned, you have the opportunity to donate it to an entire school or any portion of the school. And the dollar amounts also tell you exactly what your money buys. So please don't be shy. I would also like to take this opportunity to introduce some phenomenal moms. They're moms in real life, and they're also moms just for the very reason that every school they adopt, they're literally raising hundreds of children. Just think about this. When we build a school, that school is going to stand tall and proud for many decades. And every year, there are hundreds of children that are going to that school. So you're literally, educating by the thousands. If you just think of the school as you're standing for the next 30, 40, or whatever years. So let's invite some of the proud moms onto the stage. The first person I'd like to invite is Shubha Anand. Shubha, can we have you join us here, please? Shubha was instrumental, Shubha's family, in adopting the school in Mulbagal. This is a hometown of D.V. Gundappa, in DVG. There isn't a Kannadiga that doesn't know the name of DVG. So that Mulbagal school where DVG grew up and went to is actually like something that the government is trying to preserve, and Shubha's family has come forward to adopt the school and do some wonderful things. Would you like to say something about that, Shubha?
Namaste, everybody. So I'm very thankful that whatever idea I come up with, my husband supports me completely. So the idea to donate came during the pandemic time. We just realized how fragile our life was, and we could not go even outside the house for a few months. And we had to stop all the travel plans, the vacation plans, and somehow we thought that that money was not ours, whatever the vacations and India trips that we had planned, and that's how we decided to donate. So once we decided that we have to donate, we were looking for the organization, and OSAT came into mind, and we knew a few volunteers who were associated with OSAT, and we knew that whatever money we put in, 100% of it would go to the cause. And that was one of the main reasons we decided to donate to OSAT. Now, why we decided to do DVT school was, I learned the Mankutimana Kaka and Marulamania Kuga from WhatsApp University. So, at one Kaka a day, and that was how I learned. And figured how simple it was, and how simple life DVT lived by himself, and he donated his own house to the school in Mulbagal, and that's the school that we decided to renovate. And as DVT says, Hale Bigaru, Hosa Chiguru, Eradu Tumba Mukya Prapanchada Pedaganidike. So what does that mean is the old roots and the new plant shoots, both are important for the world's development. So we are the old roots who need to take responsibility to nurture the new plant shoots. So the new plant shoots are the kids, and they are our future. So that's the reason that we need to donate, and OSAT is the best organization for us.
Thank you, Shubha, for your kind words. And you're absolutely right. You know, we are looking at the next generation. They are the ones who are going to carry on the future of the country and of their families and so on. So it's extremely important to make sure that they have a solid foundation and they can build themselves a solid future. So at this point, I'd like to see if there are any donors at the mentor level for $5,000. Please raise your hand. Our volunteer will come to you and give you a little token of appreciation. Thank you, sir. Please raise your hand so our volunteers can see you. So again, you heard from a lot of donors. You know, I mean, everybody has a reason to donate to a cause. As I mentioned, you know, Vidyaadana is one of the highest forms of dana you can do, donation. So many of us, you know the value of education. You know, we want to make sure that our own children get the best of education. So when you think of thousands and thousands of children in India, it seems like such a simple step to donate to make somebody's life better. So when we build a school, think of the impact that we're making. I also want to point to the model that you have here, and I want to thank Satish Dodra for building this beautiful model. Satish, thank you so much. Yeah, please go ahead. So the visual basically tells you what the condition of the school typically is in India when we go to a rural school. The children are lucky if they have a roof over their head at all. Many times we see them, sitting under trees and literally exposed to rain, wind, cold, heat, all that. So we literally have to build them some classrooms and provide them with enough lighting and all the facilities just so they can learn their ABCs. I mean, we cannot even think of our children, can any of you visualize that and say, I'd like my child to put up that kind of a harsh
harsh environment. So it is, it's really kind of puts it's the point home that it's important that we think of those children when we think of what this event is all about and what Vidyaadana is all about. So thank you very much. I would like to invite the next proud mom, Uma Rajiv, Uma, please. Let's give a hand to Uma. Uma has Uma and Uma's family, Rajiv, Ramaswamy, they have adopted a couple of schools. So they are like a serial go-getters.
Yes, as Martha said, I had 2 schools in Kumarpalayam, which is a small textile town in Namakkal district in Tamil Nadu. The reason we chose the school was our affiliation to Tamil Nadu. We are from Tamil Nadu. I was born and brought up in Chennai. And my husband actually also is from Tamil Nadu, and he spent a few years in Trichy and he was during the school years, and he was very familiar with the area, Trichy, Road, Salem, Namakkal district. And when this project came up, he said, this is a good opportunity for us to get back to, a place which is close to home. And irrespective of where the school is, for us, what attracted us to OSAT was their mission. Very simple, just to build schools in, as everybody said, in rural, unprivileged areas of India, where these children do not have the opportunity or the option for to go to a private school. And we were blessed to have one middle-class families who were, by the time we were born, our parents were, ready to find the best school for LKG for us. So these kids don't have those needs, and their education is based on these government schools. And what the initiative that OSAT does is to take up these schools, build it, and create a very safe and clean environment for these children to come and study. Really touched us, and that was the reason that we wanted to. OSAT plays a special place in our heart.
Thank you very much. So it is very heartening to hear that they started with adopting one school, and thank you for your kind words and recognizing the work that goes behind the scenes. So it was motivation for them to adopt another school. So again, it's an opportunity. And this time I'd like to see some hands go up for the $10,000 level, which will which is the teacher level. So this basically allows us to build a classroom and some other facility like rain harvesting, sanitation facilities and so on. So if there are go-givers with the $10,000 level, please raise your hand, and our volunteers will come to you. So while that is happening, thank you very much. So while that's happening, I just want also to tell you one more story. Something that always stands out in my mind is I went and visited the Benkipura school. That is one of the schools in Karnataka. So the first thing I asked the teachers and the kids was, what benefit did you get by us coming and building this school? It is a response I will never forget. That school literally had huge holes in the roof, and the roof had completely rotted. And so what used to happen was, if the children and the teachers were inside the class, they had all these worms that would literally fall on them from the roof that was completely decayed. So the children said, "Auntie, this is the first time my hand is not itching. This is the first time I didn't have to go to a doctor." I mean, that literally brought tears into my eyes. This is like, can you imagine sitting in a classroom where you're being exposed to that kind of a situation? Worms literally causing you skin disease. I mean, that's such a horrible thing, So when you look at things like that, that to me says it's a very, very compelling reason not to walk away, not to look away. Because I think, we can't afford to do those things anymore. We literally have to think of those children. So the reason I'm telling you is because I've seen these things firsthand, and I'm sure a lot of you have seen this firsthand. So if you're still thinking about should I or should I not, please dig deeper into your wallets. And I promise you on behalf of OSAT that every dollar we get is going to get used in the most optimal way. So that's our promise to you. So please help us make these other schools that are remaining get adopted today. So the next mom, I'd like to invite Sumana. I'm sorry I have to get you to get up one more time and come over. Sumana and Sudhindra, they are the proud parents of our latest baby, Chikakundu school that you just saw. So as a proud mom, let's hear from you.
It's an honor actually to be here, and I think after hearing such powerful and inspiring speech from all those who said before me, there's nothing much I can add to actually drive home the point of why we are all here today. But I think I can only give my personal experience, and like Mangala said, as a mother, my inspiration actually came when both our boys used to volunteer in India during summers in underprivileged schools. And I used to tag along with them with the excuse of translating to them in Kannada. Just because I just love to be around these young kids. And at that time, we saw these students who had so much of, the thirst for learning. And they would ask my boys questions about, I remember one day one girl came and said, I want to become a mechanical engineer, so what subjects should I focus on? And this is like a 5th grader. And even after we came back home, they would create these Facebook accounts to without the knowledge of their parents, just so that they could keep in touch with the boys and find out more about opportunities. So it's 2 or 3 years down the road, we started realizing, this great dreams these children had, and also we were seeing the really bad condition of those schools. So when we came to know about OSAT, it was sort of, the connection was instantaneous for us. It was almost like we had seen the dreams in the eyes of these children, and then we saw OSAT doing such a diligent and thorough job of creating these environments where these children can learn, and actually it completely transforms their lives. And so we felt like there was no better cause to give than to give it to OSAT and see so many lives being transformed every time children enter the classroom.
And I'd like to give a big shout out to all those OSAT volunteers who are actually on the ground out there, actually getting the real work done. What we do is just a very small part. I think the majority of the work is being done actually by the OSAT volunteers. Thank you guys.
Thank you both. Appreciate it. So now we are on to the $25,000 level. So let's see a few hands. To go-givers willing to help us at the $25,000 level, please. Please don't be shy. Raise your hands, and our volunteers will come to you. Okay. All right. Thank you about it. Thank you. The next proud mom I'd like to invite is Sneha. You have got it, please. So Sneha and Kirti have been supporters of OSAT for a very long time, and we thank you for everything you've been doing for us. So Sneha, I have a story for you. When I was growing up, I was, I think, 11th or 12th grade, about to, take the next big decision, right? So my mom said, what do you want to be? And you know what I said? I said, I want to be a model and an actress. And she said, a model and an actress, and? I said, and what? Model and an actress. So you know what she said? I always think of this. So she said, all this knowledge is going to wear off someday, but dumb is forever. So I know that you are a big proponent and a big supporter of education of girls and women. So we thank you for that. you and Kirti adopted Malur Girls High School, which is one of the biggest projects we have done to date. So you have the record. Would you like to say something?
Hello everyone. This way? I come from a background where my grandparents were headmasters and teachers of a village school from my mother's side. So, and we've heard such amazing speakers today, panelists, and we all know Vidyaadana2022 and Anand have such a big influence in all our lives, right? They, in their own way, guide us, and they have guided our family, Kirti and mine, into getting involved with OSAT and living. So the first time Kirti and me adopted a school, it gave me a high. It just was like, wow, we can, write this check for like $58,000, and it gave me a high. Can you believe that? And every year, I think when we get ready to come to this event, we don't miss this event. Kirti and me, we don't tell each other anything, but every year we want to come here and adopt a school. So that's what it makes us do. And we are all here, of course, the entertainment and to listen to all the panelists, etc. We are here for dinner, but the cause is that we have to give. And there is no right time to do it. So just recently I was speaking to the priest that comes to our house to do pujas. His name is Shashidhar Somayati. I think some of us know him also. He recently became, a priest by himself. He's not attached to any temple. So he told me every time he makes he receives some dakshina, like money, he puts aside 10% to give to any community cause of his choice, okay? And then some of it he uses for his own personal hobbies like Vidyaadana. But I was like, wow, this person puts aside 10% of every earning that comes to him to give to the community. And I am, it was not a realization that I had when I was in my 20s or 30s. It just hit me. I'm like, wow, he can put aside money, why can't I, right? So that's something for all of us to think. The time is now. Okay, the stakes are at 25,000. We should sign those pledge forms. Give. You will feel the high. It's a good high. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Sneha, by the way, I have to tell you how the story ended with my mom. So what she said was basically the novelty is going to wear off, but that dumb is forever. It made me think. So I went and got myself an engineering degree, and I'm very, very thankful for that. So I may not be a dumb blonde. I'm definitely not a blonde. Thank you so much. Thank you, Shura. So ladies and gentlemen, we are at the highest level of 75,000. So please, if you are willing to pledge to adopt an entire school, this is your opportunity. And as Sneha mentioned, the time is now. Because something else I'd like to say is, a lot of times we see problems around us. Like every time you drive by, you see 10 homeless people with, placard saying, they're homeless and they need help. So after a while, we kind of become numb to that. Because it almost becomes like, I see this every day type of thing. But I tell you something, this is an issue we cannot afford to ignore, because this is the future of our country, future of thousands and thousands of children that we are talking about. So we cannot afford to look away. We cannot afford to be numb to this and then say, not me, not in my backyard. It doesn't apply to me, and I can do it another day. So, ladies and gentlemen, I really want to thank you for being here today, and I know some of you are still thinking about it, but take your time, please, and we are here to answer any questions for you. And as I said, as long as donors like you are willing to support us, we are here to do the work. So we are willing to do whatever it takes to educate the children and put your money to very good use. So to that, you shouldn't have any doubt about that. So thank you very much. And
So all those who want to put any pledge amounts, independent of these 5 years that Mangala walked through, please feel free to put that and just leave it with one of our volunteers, and we will share with you the amount that has been collected today. Right? Vijay, would you like to say anything before we? Okay. So we will, before we break for dinner, a couple of things. Joe is going to get set up for a fantastic show. So this is something most corporations, pay to have him in, and he's been good enough to come in from Los Angeles to really, make our evening. And in addition to him, we have a couple of other small donors, and I'm not speaking about small from a donation perspective. These are young kids. Neil, could you stand up for a moment? So those of you who came in, saw this artwork in the lobby, that's through this budding young artist. He's making these specially for this evening, taking time away from his schoolwork, and the money he raises, is getting into OSAN. So thank you so much, Neil. Kiara, is Kiara in the room? Okay. If she's not in the room, she's going to be outside. She's another talented person. She authors books, and the proceeds of the books that she sells goes into OSAT again. So everybody can donate in your own respective way. Take out the pledge cards, put it on, and just raise your hands, and the volunteers will come. We'll do a quick break for dinner now, and we'll bring our food back here and eat. And right after that, we're going to have the magic show. This is the talented Kiara, whose books you can purchase outside of the library. Thank you, Kiara. All right, so with that, let's break for dinner.